Welcome to episode 101 of the Various and Sundry podcast. I'm your host, Matt Harmon, joined live from the Vault Studio on the beautiful campus of Grace College and Theological Seminary by my good friend, my colleague, my co-host, and the man who has read through my Galatians Commentary more recently than I have, John Scott Sloat.
And got his copy first.
I suppose that is fitting in that sense.
Yeah.
But not really. But I finally did get my author's copies. So
Copies?
Yeah, I get 10.
Okay.
They
finally came in the mail.
They did.
Nice.
They did. So it's always a fun moment to unbox it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you keep a little shelf into your house of your published works, or your wife probably curates that, I imagine.
It's a team effort.
Okay. Has it been added?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Very nice.
Of course. Yeah.
How does it look?
It looks good. I think in terms of the aesthetics of the actual cover and everything, I think this might be the most attractive book that I've published.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you to rank them when we interview you about your books later.
Okay,
I was going to ask you to rank your most attractive books.
We can get to that later, yeah. Yeah, I got to be careful. I don't want to offend any of the publishers.
Well, just pick the dissertation, and those guys don't speak English, so we're good.
There you go. German publishers. So, what's going on with you, John Sloat? I mean, we're last week of the semester here on campus.
Yeah, covered me verbs this morning, all of them for Greek. Which one of the things I like is they do put up charts in the book of how frequent the present of the me verb is.
Yeah,
it's just not that frequent. Aorist is much more frequent, and so we dove a little deeper on the aorist than maybe the present.
Okay.
Which I think is a helpful piece of this new textbook we're using. And
did you get a steady diet of eye rolls, of eyes rolling back up into the
no,
that was head?
That was probably participles is when I got most of that. Now I just have sullen defeat on their face, like they are just done.
Yeah,
they have just lost. They are surrendering.
Yeah. So they've got a review Wednesday and then the final exam Friday.
Yes.
Okay.
Final exam on Friday.
Yeah. I'm sure they're eager for that to be over.
Which they're all freaking out. But they're all excellent students. They'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. If you would like to contact the show, there are multiple ways to do this. You can find us on Twitter at V&S Email the show, variousandsundrypodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on both Facebook and on YouTube, Various and Sundry Podcast. And, perhaps in light of the fact we just had our 100th episode, that might move someone to want to write a review.
Glowing review, congratulatory review.
Yeah. It's been a hot minute since we've had someone write a review.
Yeah, Danny in Ohio, I think, was the last one.
Yeah, back in August, I think.
That is a long time. Question. What is New Testament doing right now for the end of the semester?
Understanding the New Testament?
Yes.
You mean? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a Wednesday, Friday class, so that means we only have one more class session before the final, and that's Revelation.
Okay. And you answer everybody's questions?
Yeah, I sort it out. I give them a very detailed outline of how it's all going to shake out at the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Charts and maps included.
Charts, timelines.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. Down. I even throw some dates in there as well.
Wow.
So
now I hear that you take it from weeks to days to hours in your charts. Is that?
I do. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I like to be specific where I can.
Okay. Fascinating.
Yes. So, now of course those notes won't ever be published until after I die. So that's part of that'll become part of the apocryphal works of Matt Harmon.
So, question for you as a professor of great renown.
That's a stretch, but let's roll with it for the sake of the question.
We were interacting with a friend of the pod, might be a strong term, friend of yours, Benjamin.
Yeah.
And he was telling us about an old Dallas professor who basically had his notes destroyed when he died.
Yes, that's true.
What's your plan? Is this something you've given much thought to?
Well, I trust that this will not be an issue for several decades.
Yeah, I assume so. But I imagine, have you given attention to this?
Minimal. I can't envision myself saying burn it all.
Okay.
I just can't envision myself doing that.
It'd be like burning Alexandria, the Library of Alexandria or something,
I just don't see myself going that route. What I would probably envision is trying to, in advance, maybe indicate if there's any specific things I'd like published and maybe things not, and entrust that to maybe a former student or a colleague or someone who could take care of that.
It's almost like you needed an executor of your notes.
Yeah.
You have an executor of the will. This person's job is to execute your desires.
Yeah.
You needed an executor of scholarship.
Yeah. Yeah.
To carry it out.
I mean, there's a well-known New Testament professor who is rather old, getting up there, and I know that he has insisted that his unpublished notes are not to be published after he dies.
Really?
Yeah.
Would this person be in Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's disappointing.
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, that's quite disappointing.
Yeah. There's going to be a huge treasure trove of notes.
I won't publish it. I just want them.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, that's disappointing. So in any case, up to the prof. So there you go.
Yeah.
But so you ready to talk about some sports here?
I think so. I mean, that was a bit of a gut punch there, Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk some sports. Although sports don't get much better.
No, not for you or me, really. I mean, your Jets lost to the Eagles this weekend.
Yeah, they scored on the first 3 drives and then did not score the rest of the game. Missed 2 extra points also.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a great recipe.
No. That's the opposite of excellence. Whatever the opposite of excellence is, that's it.
Yeah. How did your favorite Mormon play?
2 touchdowns in the first quarter.
Okay.
And I think 150 yards in the first quarter, but finished with 200 yards total.
All right.
And
so clearly the Eagles figured something out.
Yes, or he could have stayed disciplined and hit the check down receiver for the rest of the game. Something went awry.
Gotcha. Yeah. I didn't get to see that. That was an out of market game. Neither of us. I assume you didn't get to see that.
No, I didn't see it.
I did see. Trying to think what games I watched. Did you see the Ravens Steelers game?
I watched the first half of that. Yeah.
Okay, that was a good competitive game. Ravens scored a touchdown with like 12 seconds left, and instead of going for the extra point to tie it, decided to go for 2 and didn't get it.
Ooh.
And it was a play where it was a great play call, and Pittsburgh managed to get enough pressure on Lamar Jackson that his pass to Mark Andrews in the flat was just out of his reach. If it had been on target, he'd have walked in. So that was huge for Pittsburgh's playoff hopes.
They've sort of been middling this year.
They were 5-1 coming in.
Okay.
So, and the team that they tied was the Detroit Lions, who won their first game in forever.
Yeah, beat the Vikings.
Yeah, that did not make Barnabas Piper very happy, as you can understand.
It made very few Vikings fans happy.
Yeah. But
they're stuck with Kirk Cousins, and until he leaves, I just think.
Yeah,
right. Like I just think they're stuck under that contract.
But I don't know that he's the biggest problem you've got there. Is it?
I don't know. I don't pay close enough attention to the Vikings.
I don't either.
The color palette might be a problem. I don't know.
Not a big purple fan?
No.
Me either.
Although I did like it when they had I like the name Purple People Eaters, right?
That was a great nickname for their defense back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I saw them. But.
Yes, before you were even a glimmer in your parents' eyes. Yeah. So on to the college football scene. It was conference championship weekend. Probably the biggest story was Alabama beating Georgia in the SEC championship game. Yeah, convincingly. And then Michigan won the Big Ten. Cincinnati won their conference as well. So that's your Final Four in the playoff. Bama at 1, Michigan at 2, Georgia at 3, and Cincinnati at 4.
Who are you rooting for in that?
The apocalypse. I mean, honestly, if I have to pick a team out of that, I'll pick Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's who I'm picking. I mean, that's who I want to win. That's not who I think will win.
Yeah. So I think I'm still just a little bitter that if an Auburn running back goes down in bounds, Auburn beats Alabama, and then Bama doesn't get in. I think even beating Georgia, I don't know that they get in with 2 losses. Maybe they would have. I don't know. In any case, the other bowl announcements were made of local interest to me. Ohio State will play Utah, the Pac-12 champ, in the Rose Bowl. So kind of the traditional Big Ten Pac-12 matchup. And then Notre Dame plays Oklahoma State in the Fiesta Bowl.
And Notre Dame got a new coach.
They did. They promoted their defensive coordinator, Marcus Freeman, former Ohio State player.
Okay.
As is Luke Fickell, coach of University of Cincinnati.
Interesting.
Yeah. I was selfishly hoping that that Ohio State would go out and just throw a dump truckload of money at Marcus Freeman to get him to be the defensive coordinator at Ohio State. Obviously, once Brian Kelly left and he was in the running for the head coach job, I knew that was not going to happen. So that was a bit of a disappointment there. But let's see here. And then trying to think, it's just been a weird –
It's been a weird sports
just a weird
week.
College football week, a couple weeks with Brian Kelly going to Louisiana State.
Oh, yeah, the coaching shuffle started probably the day we dropped the pod last week, wasn't it?
So we knew that Lincoln Riley had left Oklahoma to go to USC.
But that was the only one.
But that was the only one we knew. And then after we recorded, that's when all of the Brian Kelly to LSU stuff started.
Did you see some of that stuff where it got announced in sports media before he told his team?
Yes.
And then he sends them a text to meet at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
First of all, college students don't like meeting at that hour. I don't care what sport they're a part of.
Yeah, come on.
They don't like meeting at 7 a.m. And then he talked to them for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Which I agree there's no good way to say goodbye there. I saw an interview with him about it, and he goes, you know what? Honestly, there's just no good way to do that.
Yeah, and that's true.
And so get out of there quick is a strategy.
Have you seen people crushing him for his sort of like Southern accent when he spoke at an LSU basketball game like the day after he was officially hired? You know, pumping up the crowd and all that kind of stuff. And in that, he kind of does this like pseudo kind of Southern accent. He was born in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And then
but he does like he's from the Bayou.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he's getting crushed for that. And then the other piece of the carousel that's now in place is Oklahoma hired Brett Venables, who's been the defensive coordinator at Clemson for like a decade plus.
Oh.
So that'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Moving to the SEC.
Yes, though that's still a couple years away.
Is that a couple years away?
Yeah, it's still a couple years away.
So
Interesting.
It's going to be weird to talk about those states that I think rightly think that's the middle of America.
Yeah, Oklahoma,
Southeastern Conference.
Yeah. I mean, but conference alignment has long ago left pure geography.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you look at some of the schools, I mean, really –
Rutgers in Nebraska.
Yeah. And what are they doing in the Big Ten? I mean, Nebraska's an easier case to make.
Mm-hmm.
Rutgers? Maryland?
Yep.
Nah. So, one note on college basketball, I'll throw this in there. I only follow it loosely at this stage, but Ohio State beat number 1 Duke this past week.
And what's Ohio State ranked?
They were not ranked at the time.
Okay. They probably will be.
They are now ranked 21st.
Okay.
So they jump back into the rankings. They were trailing by 13 at the half. Came back and won by 5 or 6, something like that. So good win for them. That'll help. That's one of those wins that come March when the selection committee is looking at seeding. That will be a very helpful.
Oh yeah,
very helpful win there. Tell us what's going on in Major League Baseball.
Yeah. So starting December 3rd, I think they started lockout. So players and owners can't agree on a collective bargaining agreement. But it's sort of the feeling in the air, and as I read more and more, it seems to be that this is just a matter of time. Like no one wants to miss games in February, and they'll come to a deal sometime between now and probably February 1st.
Okay. And do you have a sense of what – I don't know what the issues are. What are they really arguing over?
I mean, it's millionaires arguing with billionaires to a certain extent, right? Like, I mean, just who gets what and how much of what. It seemed like all the players were signing early in free agency, which isn't normally the case. Normally everybody signs in the new year when they want to sign. So I wonder if that tips the scales as to like, oh, the owners are going to come out on top, or, and players are trying to get theirs before they lose it all.
There you go.
But we'll see. Players have gone dark, so they've all disappeared. In fact, all of them have changed their profile picture on Twitter to just like blank faces, basically,
like the blank avatar kind of thing. Yeah.
So they're all disappearing.
Yeah, it's they benefit from the fact that there's so much else going on in the sports world that they can still sort of fly under the radar before they really are under any pressure. But typically, you're right. February 1st is kind of the like when you get pitchers and catchers starting to report.
Yeah, so between February 1st and February 10th, I think. And then by the 15th, 20th, everybody's reported.
Okay.
I do think like the fact that they're not missing games right now, I don't think anybody really cares.
Yeah.
If they start missing spring training games and spring training is delayed and they start missing games, I think they're going to lose fans. They're going to lose money. No one's going to be happy. So I think they probably figure out a deal.
Yeah. And then quickly, what's going on with your Knicks?
3-game skid at the moment. So trying to figure out chemistry issues. Kemba Walker hasn't been working out for us.
That's interesting. I think for me, I start paying attention to the NBA around Christmas.
Christmas Day games are a lot of fun.
I like that. Yeah, they've got like, 4?
They start at noon and they just go one right after another.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Straight to like midnight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine by me. It's nice to have that in the background. Well, that's your world of sports. John, what's our main topic for today?
Well, Doc, recently you published a new book.
I did.
Just literally picked the pen up off the page and it went to the printers. So,
yeah.
Do you want to tell us what your new book you published is?
Yeah. So this is my commentary on Galatians in the Evangelical Biblical Theology Commentary, which that's a mouthful. It's published by Lexham Press, and
are they calling it the EBTC?
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I actually submitted the manuscript for this back in August of 2020.
Okay.
So
this is your COVID baby, a little bit.
Well, it was delivered during COVID.
Okay.
Let's put it that way. I think something that perhaps listeners may not realize is oftentimes the gap between when an author submits a manuscript and when it actually gets out. If you're not writing some sort of like kind of hot topic, hot take kind of book, then books like this can take anywhere from 9 to 15 months, maybe 6 to 15 months, depending on size, depending on the publisher, et cetera.
Sure. Okay. And What separates this from other commentaries on Galatians? Obviously, there's been a lot, right? Doug Moo has a commentary on Galatians. There's a number of excellent commentaries on Galatians. What separates this one out? What's different?
Well, I wrote it.
Okay, next question.
In all seriousness, I think when you look at what the series title is, so it's part of a series, Evangelical Biblical Theology Commentary, and so the focus of the commentary is on the biblical theology, the key themes, and sort of Old Testament citations, allusions, echoes, thematic parallels that inform Paul's argument in the letter, and trying to help the reader see those rooted in the text and help them to understand how those inform what Paul is doing. Every commentary has to make choices about what it's going to focus on. So some commentaries will be very detailed on kind of the technical details of the Greek grammar. Some are focused more on application, so it's just a little bit in the actual text itself and then a lot on the kind of contemporary application. Mine, I've tried to write a commentary here that is rooted in careful exegetical study of the Greek New Testament, and to show how that is situated within the larger storyline of the Bible, connected to Old Testament allusions, echoes, thematic parallels. And then I think probably the most distinctive element is going to be, because of the way this series is designed, what they want you to do is you have the sort of traditional introduction where you deal with who wrote it, who was it written to, when was it written, all the sorts of important details. And then an extended kind of verse-by-verse commentary on the letter. But the last about 100 pages of this book are treating a number of key themes that are in Galatians and helping you to see how those not only appear in Galatians, but how that's part of how they fit into the larger biblical storyline, the larger canon, so that you have a better grasp of kind of that context in Galatians. So when you're reading through Galatians and you're looking at God's gift of the Spirit, there's a couple of sentences in there that might highlight this is rooted in Ezekiel 36 and other promises like this. But then in the themes section, I go into much more detail about those backgrounds so that the initial commentary isn't necessarily overwhelmed by having these really long discussions of a biblical theology of the Holy Spirit. That's more in the themes. So it's sort of here's 2 or 3 sentences that really help you. For more, go look in the thematic section.
Okay. And what are the themes?
So
if you're going to highlight 1 or 2.
Yeah, I think probably what's going to be – I mean, I have to highlight more than 1 or 2. But
okay, what about 3 or 4?
So when it comes to – I mean, when people think of Galatians, they tend to think of things like justification by faith. So, of course, there's a section on justification and righteousness. They tend to think about the Holy Spirit. You have the whole fruit of the Spirit passage in Galatians 5. So there's discussions of that. Probably the most distinctive ones are – I have a section on the servant of the Lord. Okay.
Lines up with your book that we've discussed on pod before.
Right. It is Paul uses servant of the Lord imagery to describe his own apostolic calling, his own conversion. And he uses servant of the Lord language, both from Isaiah, to describe the death of Jesus. So I do a whole section in the thematic area on that and putting that together, and that is, of course, an outworking of my dissertation way back in the Dark Ages, published in 2010.
Wow. Didn't realize they were publishing books.
I know. But and then developed a little bit more in my book, The Servant of the Lord and His Servant People. So you can see a lot of overlap there. The other one is at the very end, I provide a section discussing Paul's use of the Old Testament in Galatians. And it concludes with a chart where I have listed out every Old Testament passage that I think Paul interacts with at some level in Galatians, and break it down based on like citation, like a direct quote, allusion, which is a more subtle reference, echo, even more subtle reference, and then thematic parallel. So to my knowledge, I'm not aware of another chart like that on Galatians. I had a similar one in my dissertation just focused on Isaiah, but this one is now more holistic, accounting for all the other Old Testament potential allusions and echoes in there as well. So that's something that I think is pretty distinctive. I'm not aware of another place where anyone's done that.
Okay. So that'll be something that we see potentially in other people's work going forward.
I would hope so. Yeah.
Okay. What and take this in any way you want to. Going through Galatians, you know the book, right? You just said you did your dissertation on it. You've done other work on it. You've taught through it. You've preached. All the hard passages is what you get to preach usually.
Yeah.
Any fresh takeaways in the midst of this project? Anything you went like, that seems fresh to me. That seems new.
I think what struck me the most is that a lot of my engagement with Galatians before writing the commentary was just more focused on specific issues. In particular, the dissertation worked on Paul's use of Isaiah. And then I've done some work on the sort of quote-unquote allegory passage, the Hagar and Sarah passage, Galatians 4:21 through 5:1. Doing a commentary, though, forces you to grapple more with the totality of all that's in Galatians and how it connects with the different – how all the pieces kind of fit together. And so I think that to see the extent to which Paul's mind and heart are just so saturated in Scripture, that the way that he thinks, that the way that he speaks is so immersed in it that it's a sobering challenge, I think, for us that we should go and do likewise, that to have our thinking, our speaking, our writing, our communication, our living so utterly informed by Scripture. And just the fact that Paul never seemed to have lost the wonder that Christ died for him, that even though he was a persecutor of the church, that God saved him, that Christ specifically redeemed him and came to dwell inside of him. Yeah.
So two final questions. Well, maybe three. Who is this aimed at? Like who should pick up a copy of this and crack it open?
I think that anyone who is the target is more of the pastor, the Bible study leader, the Sunday school teacher, someone who's probably oriented towards preaching and teaching God's word. But I've tried to write it in such a way that even people who just want to know more about the Bible can benefit from it. I gave an advanced copy to my sister-in-law, who was doing a small group Bible study on Galatians, and she was able to use it with great profit in terms of being able to access it. She has no training in Greek, no formal theological education. She's a very gifted, intelligent lay reader, and so she was able to benefit from it. So I think that what I've tried to do is reserve some of the more technical discussions for the footnotes, so that people who aren't as interested in the details of the Greek grammar or knowing what scholar thinks what on debated issues, can just kind of skip over the footnotes and read the body of the commentary and benefit from it.
Where can people get it? Where's it available?
I mean, it's pretty much available anywhere you can order books online. So Amazon, you can go directly to Lexham Press and get a copy there. I can't remember if they're still running a discount there or not. Lexham is Lexham Press. Lexham, yes. And that's actually connected with Logos Bible software. So you can download it and have it integrated within their Logos Bible software.
Within that universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are some good places to look for that.
And then is this your final work, or is there more to come?
Yeah. So Lord willing, there are many more to come.
Okay.
I was counting the other day. This is book number 10. And
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Book number 10.
Yep. So into the double digits.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the podcast hits 100 episodes.
Yeah.
The publishing count hits 10. So big milestones here.
Do you have a Wikipedia page yet? That's
I do
that you craft?
Not. I do not. But I've got book contracts for another 5 or 6 projects lined up. I won't name them all at this point, but the next 2 that are on their way, I'll do the next 3. The next one that'll come out is a short little book that will be on the theology of 2 Peter and Jude. And that is slated for release in January or February of 23.
Okay.
That'll be the next one.
So we're going through a little drought here.
It appears that I will not have anything published in the calendar year of 2022.
Oh, man.
Yes.
What are we going to do for content here?
I don't know.
Oh, my
goodness.
don't know. This is awful news.
The one after – then I'm writing this is more a Greek-focused work, but it's doing Galatians in the Exegetical Greek Guide to the New Testament. So it's very focused on Greek grammar –
okay.
And all that sort of stuff. So that's not really for a popular level audience.
Oh, we'll still cover it on the pod. We'll still talk it on the pod.
And then one more is I'm under contract to do a book in the short studies on biblical theology that Crossway does.
Okay.
On the wisdom of God.
Okay.
So those are the next 3.
Okay. And then you have the Mammoth project that's out there, right? Luke Acts.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do we have a date for that?
No, I mean
this decade?
Yes, Lord willing, please, this decade. At least Luke. Yeah, I hope my publisher for that commentary is not listening. But yeah, I would like to finish the initial draft of the Luke commentary in 2 more years.
Okay.
Luke's just a massive book.
It's a large. it's a lot of.
It's a beast.
Yeah,
it's a beast.
Anyway, we will link in the show notes. We'll link this at least on Amazon. To the book. If you want to pick it up, please write a review about your experience with the book as well. My favorite reviews of Matt's book, which I have pitched as a podcast episode that Matt won't greenlight, where I read 1-star reviews of his books. Most of them having to do with package-arrived damage or something like that.
Yeah, maybe someday.
I think they're funny, and I just want to hear you respond to some of those. So, but leave him a 5-star review on Amazon as well.
Yes, that would be great. That would be very helpful. So, are we ready to move on to our new segment?
Our new segment today in sports history.
Yeah. So, if you're new to the podcast, you still should probably know that we for the first 99 episodes.
Yep.
We named part of the episode after an athlete who wore the number of the episode.
Yep. And that, for the most part, went well.
It did. We had some lean weeks when we got into some of the 60s and 70s. Like part of the problem is that for basketball and for baseball, the numbers tend to stop typically at 50.
Mm-hmm.
Anything beyond that's kind of a one-off or unusual. So that just left this large section of offensive and defensive linemen from the NFL at some point. So so we moved on from that, and now we're doing a This Day in Sports History. So this episode will drop on December 7th. And there were a bunch. I just any of those three that you want? Should I read all three? You think, or
yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
read all three.
There you go. So in 1937, the Red Sox acquired the contract of 19-year-old Ted Williams.
That's fascinating.
Do you remember his nickname?
I don't think so. No, what was
I
Ted
think it was
Williams?
the Splendid Splinter.
That was not something that was running through my head. So
yeah.
Splendid.
And then 1939, Lou Gehrig was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And a recent one, just last year in 2020, breaking, the competitive form of breakdancing, was confirmed as an Olympic sport for the Paris 2024 Games.
That will not be one I'm watching.
Really?
Depends if it's on. I might turn it on just to see what on earth is happening in 2024. But
how do you judge that?
I don't know. But we have a friend whose sibling has done this.
We have a friend whose sibling has competed in breakdancing?
Has gone to competitions and competed in it. Not at the Olympic level or on that sort, but has gone to breakdance against another person.
I don't know who this is.
I'll tell you after off pod.
Okay. We've got what, 3 years? My guess is I would think the field's pretty wide open, right?
For you and I to compete?
For anyone.
This is not for me.
Well,
this
me either.
Not...
Me either. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on that. Some of these choices of Olympic sports just seem strange.
The walking one where
race walking.
Yeah, where your foot always has to be in contact with the ground.
Now be careful because I have a race walker in my extended family, my wife's extended family history, who competed in the Olympics.
I thought it was just in an Olympic sport a couple of years ago.
No.
Like 2 or 3 Olympics ago.
No. That's been around a while.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the walking gets me.
Just the stride they have because they have to keep the foot on the ground at all times.
So much torque in those strides.
And they have judges who are watching that's a violation. I think you get if you get 2 or 3, they can disqualify you because you're actually running.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else is in the Olympics.
Now think of a sport. We'll use that term loosely.
Okay.
Where you're actually penalized for going too fast. Where there's actual built-in limits of no, you can't go faster than this.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
It's wild. 3-on-3 basketball was also a weird one for me in this most recent Olympics.
Yeah.
And we'll have to watch. I don't want to get geopolitical on here, but a lot of talk about the Olympic Games in China right now.
This is the winter.
The winter
2022
coming up,
in February.
Yeah, coming up soon.
Yeah.
A lot of talk about China, politically speaking.
Yeah. Whether have you heard any whispers of boycotts? I've heard people propose it, but I'm not aware that there's any real serious momentum for the U.S. boycotting.
I don't think so. I don't think they will.
Yeah.
We didn't boycott in 38 when it was in
with
Berlin.
Hitler?
When it was in Germany. When it was in Germany.
Well, maybe we've learned our lesson since then. I don't know.
Maybe we should. I did hear that argument on a podcast. We should have boycotted in 38. Let's boycott now. It's just wow. That's a
bold take.
Yeah,
it's a bold take. Well, was it the Soviets that boycotted in '84 when it was here in the U.S. in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I believe so. Okay. And
We might have boycotted the summer in 80. Was there one in 8? The
Moscow? Where was it?
I don't know where it was. I don't think it was in Moscow, but I know it wasn't the Winter Olympics but the Winter Olympics happened that year because that's the year that the U.S. beat the Soviet Union in hockey, which was like the great upset.
By the way, did you see Bob Costas on China this last week?
Yeah, he came out and basically criticized
the IOC.
Yeah.
We've gone into different waters now. All right, let's pick an event here and let's move on.
I'm leaning towards breakdancing.
Oh, I was leaning towards Ted Williams.
I'm fine with that. You want to go Ted Williams? Okay. Yeah, we can go Ted Williams. I mean, let's do it.
I don't think breakdancing is necessarily a sport.
I agree.
Okay.
One thing we liked.
This last week, I hosted, or I was part of hosting Back in 5. Have you heard of this?
I'm very familiar.
So it's our improv group on campus where I show up, I read cue cards, and then I participate in a game with our campus improv group. So I did this with another faculty member on campus and had a lot of fun. It didn't start till 11 o'clock at night, though.
I was going to ask, how did you manage to stay up that late? How much coffee did you have to drink to stay up?
I had one espresso at 10 o'clock.
Okay. And you don't live close to campus, so you probably –
I had to drive home, yeah.
You probably didn't get home till –
12:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It wasn't too terrible.
All right.
But it was just a lot of fun. I played the game Sound Effects. So me and the other host each had our own microphone, and we had to make sound effects for the people acting things out on stage. It was a lot of fun.
I mean, you have a history of participating in this event.
Yeah, this is like my 4th or 5th year in a row of doing – I've done the Christmas show a few times. I've done the Halloween show. I've done the first show before.
Yeah.
It's a good time. It's nerve-wracking up there.
Are you expected to be funny?
I try to make fun of the improv people. I try to make quips. And that's about it. Other than that, I try to keep things moving, and I try to timing the ending of the game because you want it to end on a high note, but you don't want to end so early that, well, there was more here that we could have done, but you need to find that happy medium.
Gotcha.
So, but it was a lot of fun.
Did you ever watch Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I field things from the audience like, okay, give me an occupation. And
yes.
Most of them are terrible. It takes like a good, all right, come on, guys, think of something better.
Was there a significant line to get in?
Yeah, I would say there's probably between 250 and 300 there.
Because I know that for past events, students have lined up a couple hours before the doors even open to get in.
So this one was in McLean, not in Little Theater. When it's in Little Theater on campus, there's usually a long line because that can only hold 150, 200 people, something like that.
Gotcha. All right. So for me, I'm going to go with some Jane Harper novels.
Okay.
She's an author who has written several novels about sort of like mystery thriller kind of novels set in the Australian outback.
Okay.
And
do you have to know the geography to understand? Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, not at all. So good character development. So Jane Harper. There are 3 of them. The ones that I've read are all on Scribd. So
love Scribd.
Love Scribd. Very, very appreciative of that. So there you go. So we have talked sports. We've talked Galatians Commentary. We've talked about breakdancing as a competitive, so-called competitive sport, and still gone with Ted Williams, which was the right call. We've talked about John Sloat's budding career in comedy.
It's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And various and sundry other things.
We talked a lot about the IOC as well and geopolitics.
Yes, and about the possibility of a boycott.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't even mention COVID. Like, is COVID going to have this big impact on
Oh, yeah.
In China, probably not. Because COVID probably doesn't exist in China, right?
I mean, definitely does.
See, I went there. You cracked the door with the IOC in China, and I just rushed right in there.
Well, we're going to have to cover it if any countries, say, we're not coming.
Yeah. I guess we will.
We're gonna have to cover it.
Yeah,
on location.
We were out in front of the COVID story to begin with, so we feel some obligation to probably keep tabs on it at some basic level.
Yeah,
without inundating you with a
Numbers.
Subject that you're utterly sick of. So,
yep.
In any case, I think we're ready to call mission accomplished.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, as you're fighting off the yawns over there, we should probably wrap it up. So,
yeah.
I guess what that means is all that's left to say is until next time, the Lord bless you all real good.
Later.